Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are opening up a file that, honestly, if you just glanced at the cover, you'd swear belongs in the comedy section.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are talking about a character named Captain Aardvark.
It really does sound like a Saturday morning cartoon character, doesn't it?
Totally. Captain Aarfy Aardvark, you hear that name, and you expect, I don't know, a goofy sidekick.
Right.
And if you've read Joseph Heller's Catch-22 or seen the movie or the miniseries, your first impression probably lines up with that. He's the comic relief. He's this plump, pipe-smoking navigator who seems completely harmless.
But that is exactly the trap the author Joseph Heller sets for us. Because looking at our source material for today, which includes character sketches, biographical summaries from the text, and some pretty heavy thematic analysis, we're going to see that this harmless buffoon is actually a Trojan horse.
A Trojan horse for what?
For one of the most terrifying depictions of evil in 20th century literature. So today's mission is to unpack how a character goes from being a funny, oblivious guy getting lost in an airplane to, well, a monster.
Okay.
And I have to warn you right now, usually on this show, we love a story where the bad guy gets caught.
Right. The handcuffs go on, justice is served.
Catch-22 does not play by those rules.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the visual, because the text is very specific about how Aarfy presents himself to the world. If we were casting this in our heads, who are we looking at?
He is described as distinctively round, plump. He's almost always smoking a pipe, which gives him this air of, I don't know, cozy intellectualism.
Like a friendly uncle or something.
Yeah, or maybe a college professor who got lost on his way to the library and somehow ended up in a B-25 bomber.
He's the navigator for the protagonist, Yossarian, and his defining trait, at least in the first half of the book, it seems to be that he's just completely out to lunch.
Oblivious is the word that anchors his character early on, but we have to be careful with that word. Because usually, when we say someone who's oblivious, we mean they're absent-minded. With Aarfy, it's almost weaponized obliviousness.
How does a navigator, the guy whose one job is to know where you are and what's happening, weaponize being lost?
Well, think about the environment. They are flying combat missions over Italy in World War II. It's loud, it's violent, people are shooting flak at it.
Exploding anti-aircraft shells.
Right, and Yossarian, the bombardier, is terrified.
Yeah.
He's screaming over the intercom, taking evasive action.
And Aarfy?
He's puffing on his pipe, admiring the view. He literally acts as if the explosions aren't happening. He ignores the flak completely.
It's almost a superpower. He just filters out the fact that people are trying to kill him.
He does, and that filtering has consequences. He's a terrible navigator because he doesn't seem to think the details matter. There's a specific mission mentioned in the files, the milk run to Parma.
A milk run usually means an easy trip, right? In and out, no danger.
Exactly. But Aarfy gets them lost, and he drifts them over Livorno instead.
And Livorno is definitely not a milk run.
It's heavily defended. And because of that oops moment, Yossarian gets hit. He takes shrapnel in the leg. But here is the thing. Aarfy doesn't register it as his fault. He just thinks, oh, well, tricky map.
There's another incident in the notes here that's even worse. It's over Ferrara. Aarfy's incompetence forces the entire squadron to circle back for a second pass to bomb a bridge.
And in aerial warfare, going around twice is pretty much a death sentence.
Because you've lost the element of surprise.
Right. The gunners on the ground have your range. They know exactly where you are. And because Aarfy made them go back, a pilot named Kraft and his entire crew are shot down and killed.
So let's pause there. We have a body count now. Aarfy's obliviousness has killed men on his own side. How does he react to that? Surely even if you're incompetent, you feel the weight of that.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But this is our first clue that something is, wrong with Aarfy's wiring. He isn't racked with guilt. He isn't even defensive. He's just surprised that anyone is upset. He is described in the text as heedless. He is insulated from reality.
And the book makes that insulation literal, right? There is this incredible bit of physical comedy involving Yossarian that really stuck with me reading the summary.
It's a very memorable scene. Yossarian is trying to get past Aarfy to the escape hatch during a mission. He's screaming at Aarfy to move.
Right.
But Aarfy claims he can't hear him.
Which is so frustrating. It's like talking to a wall.
It drives Yossarian insane. No matter how loud he shouts, Aarfy just smiles and points at his ears. Intercom must be out, old boy. Then the second Yossarian gives up and says, never mind, suddenly Aarfy hears that perfectly.
Classic selective hearing.
And finally, Yossarian snaps. He starts punching him. He is
Yeah.
physically beating him in the chest.
And this is the cartoon moment. Yossarian is punching him, and what happens?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Aarfy's body fat is described as being so thick that it just absorbs the blows. He doesn't even bruise.
Wow.
Yossarian is exhausting himself, venting all his rage, and Aarfy just sits there, cushioned by his own blubber, completely unaffected.
That is such a perfect metaphor. You can't hurt him, you can't reach him. He is soft, but he's impenetrable.
Exactly. And that's where the comedy stops being funny and starts being a commentary on the system. Aarfy represents a kind of bureaucratic insulation. He is safe because he doesn't perceive the danger, and he doesn't perceive the suffering of others.
So we have this image of the incompetent, insulated navigator, but let's dive into his head a little bit. What does Captain Aardvark actually want? Because he doesn't seem to care about the war.
No, the war is just a backdrop for him. His motivation is purely social climbing. He wants to be part of high society.
And this leads us to his relationship with Nately. Nately is another pilot, a nice kid, comes from a very wealthy family, and Aarfy is obsessed with him.
He is. Aarfy has decided that Nately is his ticket to the top. The source material says Aarfy has fallen truly in love with Nately's father.
That's a weird way to put it. Not Nately, but his father.
Right. He wants a job. He thinks if he befriends the son, the father will hire him as an executive after the war. He sees himself as Nately's protector or mentor.
Which is ironic, because Nately doesn't seem to like him that much.
Nately sees right through him. Nately hangs out with the misfits Yossarian, Hungry Joe, or he knows Aarfy is a climber. But Aarfy doesn't get it. He thinks he's the only proper gentleman in the group.
And this is where we get to his twisted sense of morality. Because Aarfy thinks he is better than everyone else.
He does. He looks down on the other officers, especially when it comes to women. The other men go to brothels, they visit prostitutes. Aarfy turns his nose up at that.
He has a catchphrase about this, doesn't he?
He does. He loves to say, "Old Aarfy has never paid for it."
Old Aarfy has never paid for it. He wears that like a badge of honor.
He thinks that makes him virtuous. He thinks because there is no transaction of money, he is morally superior. But his behavior towards women is actually manipulative and predatory.
There's a note here about him protecting women. Can you explain that?
It's a very cynical kind of protection. If the officers are at a party or an apartment and there are women present, Aarfy will interfere. He'll block the other men from making advances.
But he's not doing it to be a good guy.
No, he's not doing it to save the women from harassment. He's doing it because he thinks these women might have social connections.
So he's guarding them like assets.
Exactly. He's networking. He thinks, if I keep this girl clean, maybe she knows someone who can help my career. He views women entirely as objects, either objects of distaste, if they are prostitutes, or tools for social advancement.
So he's not a good boy. He's a gatekeeper.
Precisely. And this is where the mask really starts to slip. We move from Section 2, the social climber, into Section 3 of our outline, the mask slips. Because there is a story Aarfy tells Nately that just chills my blood.
Okay.
This is the moment where you realize Aarfy isn't just a buffoon. He's talking to Nately about his college days, back in his fraternity.
And he tells this story like it's a fond memory, like a boys will be boys prank.
Right. He recounts how he and his frat brothers tricked 2 high school girls into coming into the fraternity house.
High school girls. So they are likely minors.
Yes. And once they were inside, Aarfy and his friends trapped them. They kept them in bed for over 10 hours.
10 hours? That's kidnapping. That's assault.
It is gang rape. They forced these girls to put out, as he puts it, for anyone who wanted them. And the coercion they used was threatening to call the girls' parents and tell them they were being promiscuous.
That is sickening. It's psychological torture on top of the physical violation.
And it gets worse. Aarfy mentions, almost casually, that they smacked their faces a little when the girls complained.
Oh my God.
And then after 10 hours of this torture, they threw them out. But not before stealing their nickels and chewing gum.
They stole their chewing gum.
It's that detail that really highlights the cruelty. It's petty, it's dehumanizing. He took everything from them. And yet, in Aarfy's mind, because he didn't pay them, he thinks he's the good guy.
Right, because of his catchphrase.
Exactly. He advises Nately that if you pay a woman, you're engaging in something dirty. But if you force a woman, trick her, and beat her, well, old Aarfy's never paid for it.
That is a terrifying distortion of logic. He thinks the lack of payment makes it romance, or at least not a sin.
He confuses a lack of commerce with morality. He thinks he is a good boy. And that self-delusion is what makes him so dangerous. He has no conscience. Only a set of arbitrary rules that always let him win.
This leads us to the darkest part of the deep dive, the horror in Rome. This is the climax of our Aarfy storyline, and really the emotional center of the novel's tragedy.
This is the event that breaks Yossarian. They're on leave in Rome. Yossarian is trying to find moments of peace in the middle of this war, and then he stumbles upon Aarfy.
And our Aarfy has committed a horrific crime.
He has raped a maid named Michaela, an innocent woman who was just working in the building.
And when Yossarian finds him, imagine the scene. Yossarian is screaming. He is horrified. And
Aarfy is calm. He's condescending. He acts like Yossarian is making a fuss over nothing. He's puffing that pipe again.
But then Yossarian realizes something else. The room is quiet. Michaela isn't moving.
No. Aarfy threw her out the window. He killed her.
And this is where the dialogue... I just have to read this logic because it's insane. Yossarian yells, "You killed her!" And Perry says, "Oh, I had to do that after I had raped her."
And then the justification.
I couldn't very well let her go around saying bad things about us, could I?
That sentence right there. I couldn't very well let her go around saying bad things.
Oh.
It's the banality of evil in its purest form.
No.
He didn't kill her out of rage. He didn't kill her out of passion.
No.
He killed her as a practical administrative decision to avoid gossip.
To protect his reputation. To protect his social climbing prospects.
Precisely. In his mind, her life is worth less than the risk of a bad rumor.
And when Yossarian, in his desperation, asks, "Why? Why did you do this? Why didn't you just get a prostitute if you were that desperate?"
Aarfy falls back on his catchphrase one last time.
"Oh, no, not me. I never paid for it in my life."
He is bragging. Standing over the body of a woman he raped and murdered, he is bragging about his thriftiness and his virtue. He genuinely believes he is superior to Yossarian because he didn't spend money.
It's disgusting. It makes you want to reach through the pages and shake him. But Yossarian thinks, okay, this is it. The police are coming. The sirens are blaring.
Yossarian tells him, "You're going to jail. They're going to hang you." And Aarfy just laughs. He says, "No one would do that to good old Aarfy."
And this brings us to Section 5, the ultimate Catch-22. The police, the military police, the MPs, they burst into the room.
The listener, the reader, Yossarian, everyone expects justice. There is a dead body on the pavement. There is a rapist in the room.
But what do the MPs do?
They ignore the body.
Yeah.
They ignore Aarfy. They walk right past the murderer, and they grab Yossarian.
They arrest Yossarian. For what?
For being AWOL, absent without leave. He didn't have a pass to be in Rome that specific day.
Wait. So raping and killing a woman, ignored. Missing a permission slip, handcuffs.
That is the ultimate Catch-22 of the novel. The system's not designed to protect people like Michaela. It is not designed to punish evil. It is designed to maintain bureaucracy.
So, Yossarian, who is the moral center, the man who is horrified by violence, is the criminal because he broke a rule about paperwork.
Exactly. And Aarfy
gets away with it.
Aarfy is vindicated. His insouciant, arrogant belief that no one would hurt good old Aarfy turns out to be true. The system protects him.
Why? Why does the system protect the monster?
Because Aarfy fits into the insanity. Think back to the beginning. He ignores the flack. He ignores reality. He ignores the humanity of the girl he abuses.
Right.
The military bureaucracy in Catch-22 also ignores reality and humanity. They are compatible. Aarfy is the perfect citizen of this insane world because he has no conscience to get in the way of the machinery.
So the guy who absorbs punches with his fat also absorbs the consequences of murder. Nothing sticks to him.
Exactly. While the good characters, namely Kraft, the people who try to care, they die. They suffer these ignominious deaths. But the oblivious, selfish predator, he survives. He prospers.
That is incredibly bleak. It feels like the book is telling us that justice is a lie.
It is bleak, but it's a warning. Heller is showing us that in a society governed by insane rules, sanity is a liability. Being able to feel pain or guilt or empathy, those are weaknesses in the eyes of the machine. Our Aarfy succeeds because he is hollow.
So if we look at the big picture here, our Aarfy isn't just a villain. He's a symbol.
He is a symbol of the perversity of the system. He represents the people who can navigate a corrupt world perfectly because they simply do not care who they crush along the way. He's the man who never questions, never feels, and never pays.
And he thinks he's the hero of his own story.
That's the scariest part. He never has an epiphany that he's evil. He thinks he's a nice guy who just had to, tidy up a loose end.
Well, that certainly changes how I'll ever look at a comic relief character again. We've gone from a funny name, Captain Aardvark, to a chilling portrait of a sociopath protected by bureaucracy.
It's a deep dive that really forces you to question what we mistake for indolence. Just because someone is smiling and smoking a pipe doesn't mean they aren't dangerous.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. We've seen how the world of Catch-22 protects Aarfy because he refuses to see reality. He ignores the flak, he ignores the murder.
He refuses to acknowledge the consequences of his actions.
Right. So if the insane world protects the blind, what does that say about the dangers of being sane? If seeing the world clearly, like Yossarian does, only brings you pain and punishment, is sanity a curse?
That is the question at the heart of the book. And looking at Aarfy, the alternative seems terrifying.
Indeed, something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the dark side of Catch-22.
It was a pleasure to unpack this with you.
We'll see you next time. Stay curious and watch out for the navigators.